going on? Good evening.
Hello.
What's happening?
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome to our channel.
Yes, this is Angela,
And this is Lamar.
my lovely wife.
Welcome to our channel. This is Lamar and Angela. We are two expats who are currently living our life abroad and are living life abundantly. We went in search of what that actually means in scripture
Yeah, we
when
did.
God says that he promises us life and life abundantly. What exactly does that mean? And so we wanted to check that out and search, and that we did by dropping everything that we had before in our previous lives
Yeah,
and coming and living abroad with our three children, technically, three children and three dogs now.
3 dogs now. We came with two. One passed away. Lucky.
Yes.
And we have two new puppies, two babies.
So if you are reading the title of this live stream, we first of all come every month on the first of the month. And you know what that means.
It's the first of the month. It's the first of the month.
What? He did it! He did it!
Get up, get up,
It's
get
the
up
first
to
of
the
the
month. Get up,
month.
get up.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! It's only been a year and some change until he gets it, but he got it. Good job. Okay. But it's the first of the month. We go live every month on the first of the month to share a live stream. And so we are thankful and grateful that you came abroad with us in this journey and are following along with us. If
Yeah.
you have not pressed that like or subscribe button, what are you waiting for? Like,
truly, what are you waiting for? We got good stuff here.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Indeed. And so today, do you know why I'm dressed like this?
She's lounging. She has her Delta Sigma Theta lounging pajamas on.
I have my pajamas on because it's story time.
Story time, yeah.
Are you going to tell me a story?
I don't have a story to tell you.
You ain't going to tell me a bedtime story?
Maybe later.
Oh. Okay. But we wanted to share a story with you that just kind of brings full circle on a lot of things. Actually, I was reminded that I needed to share this story and shared this story at church a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of it organically happened. And so some other people were saying, you really need to tell this story. So we're opening it up to share with you.
Now, let's be clear. This is a difficult story. It's a true story.
It is a very true story.
It's
true story.
It was at that time very traumatic.
Yes. Yes.
Difficult. Yeah.
But before we do, let's say hi to some friends. I see Katrina. Hi,
Katrina.
Hi, girl. What's going
What's
on?
going on?
I love that. Okay. I'm gonna stay focused. Stay focused. Okay. So let's see. How do I begin this story? I almost died, y'all.
Yeah.
I almost died. I mean, this isn't even like
it's not hyperbole. No.
I straight up was dying, almost dead, or what have you. Mm-hmm. So I want to share this story. So let's go back to 2004, 2005. Lamar and I got married. And when we got married, it was always Lamar's desire and goal and intention for us to have children.
I'm the only one out of my siblings that's married, and my parents do not have any grandchildren.
Right.
So I wanted to be a dad.
Right. So when we got married, it was always kind of with the thought that we would eventually have children of our own. I had already been married, divorced, and had a daughter. I was good. But I really did want to have another baby with Lamar. And so back in 2005, we started the whole process of getting ready. And I had gone to my OBGYN to get checked out. and make sure everything was right in order or whatever thing. And everything was right and in order, but I had some fibroids. So she suggested that you might want to have those fibroids removed because they may cause an issue with you later on down the line. And so we decided that, yeah, probably be a good thing for me to have these fibroids removed. And then let's get started with our whole process. So we decided to go to have the myomectomy, as it's called, done, performed, and all of that kind of thing. The surgery went smoothly. And after the surgery, I just remember after in the recovery process, I remember feeling not quite myself. I felt like something isn't right. Something is definitely feeling off. But, in the process of recovering, I was told by the doctors that, yeah, you probably feel, after surgery, that's usually what people do feel. You feel sore and all that kind of stuff. That probably will go away in about a week or so. No, no, it did not go away. This is like July of 2020. I mean, 2005, July of 2005, the beginning of July. So, okay, I just kind of trooped through it. And in the meantime, my abdomen is starting to swell. I'm feeling exhausted. And there was just something in my spirit that just said, something is not right.
Yeah.
Something is not right. I don't feel like myself. We happened to go to, as a matter of fact, we happened to go to Lamar's family reunion.
Is that usually the second weekend in August in Owensboro, Kentucky?
In Owensboro, Kentucky. So we flew to Owensboro.
Yeah.
And I just remember feeling just so sick and just, I was tired and in so much pain. That was the thing. I was in pain. And I remember that Lamar rented a truck. It was an SUV.
It was a Toyota.
I don't know what that thing was. A Titan or something like that.
That. Big SUV.
Big SUV. The thing was huge. And I remember being grateful for that thing because it had a smooth ride. And even though it had a smooth ride, every time we would go over a bump, it was like excruciating pain. I was in such excruciating pain the whole time, to the point that I literally remember being in our hotel room, begging and pleading with God not to let me die on this trip here in Kentucky. It's just, oh, please, let me at least get back home to die. I honestly felt hideous and terrible.
Yeah.
So did you want to share something about that?
No, I remember, I don't know if it was before we left, you told your dad what?
Yeah, it was so bad. I was in such pain. And I remember being on the phone with my father, explaining to him how I felt like I was just in such horrendous, horrific pain. And I told my dad that it feels like someone just opened me up, put a roll of paper towels in my belly, and then closed it up. That's how swollen I was. That's an important detail that let me tell y'all about later. But I felt hideous. So when we got back to DC, after we came back from his family reunion in Owensboro, I went back to my doctor for a follow-up. And I remember saying to her, just kind of having to be an advocate for myself and say, listen, it's been a month. I feel absolutely horrible. I can't walk. I can't sleep. I can't lay down. I can't stay. It hurts to stand up. It hurts to lay down. It hurts to move. It hurts to breathe. Everything is hurting. Can you please, something just is not right. And she kind of was like, well, okay, well, let's see if we can do an X-ray and just kind of give you an X-ray and see what might be going on there. But everything looks good. The surgery went well and all that kind of thing. I thought, okay. So at the time I was in seminary, And I remember we had the X-rays done. Went down to the other part of the hospital and had the X-rays done, and then went on to the next day to go to my class. And I was in class, and I got a cell phone call. I picked up my cell phone and was like, it's my doctor's office. Let me step out and take this call. So I get out into the hallway, and she sounds panicked. I mean, just absolutely panicked. And she was like, can you come back to the hospital as soon as possible? I really have some terrible news to tell you. I got the results of your X-ray, and the results of your X-ray show that we accidentally left some surgical sponges in your abdomen. So you need to come back, as soon as possible to get those removed. It was like, what?
Yeah.
Crazy. Like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh. Okay. So I immediately, I don't even remember if I finished my class.
Yeah, because we found that was that Wednesday that week, or because I know that you got word, and she told you that it looks like, because they also did a CT scan, and the imaging showed that there was three objects.
Right. Three objects.
Three objects.
That's important to note, because hold on. So we knew that on one breath I felt relieved, because I'm not crazy. I mean, this is exactly, I feel hideous. I feel I'm in a tremendous amount of excruciating pain, and there's a reason for it, and I'm not crazy.
Right.
Yeah. On the other side of it, I was like, oh my God, I got to go back in and have major surgery. Oh my goodness. And,
right.
I still had my daughter, Vanessa. She was young at the time. She was only like in elementary school. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I'm really scared. And I remember the night before we went to have surgery.
So this is a twofold traumatic situation, because I find out, and then I have to make sure my employer knows.
Oh, wait, you.
So I go to work, and this is on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
I don't remember it because they had scheduled the surgery for Monday. And I remember that. So I go into work, and I had sent an email saying that my wife has to have emergency surgery on Monday, and I need to take off.
Sidebar, that's interesting that they would schedule it a couple days later. But anywho,
I get to work, and I had two managers, which was weird. And one of them named Rick, came to me, and we're talking, and he says, Lamar, I need to tell you that this is not cool that you give us such short notice on your wife's surgery. I know how surgery works, and that how they do tests and blood tests and all this, and weeks in advance before you're going to have surgery. And I was taken aback, and I kept hearing my dad talk to me and told me how to handle this. And so this was getting close to lunchtime, and I looked at Rick and I said, hey, Rick, you hungry? Let's go get something to eat. So we leave out, we drive down the road, go to where the little strip mall was, and get out the car. I said, hold up, Rick, let me talk to you for a bit. I said, let me tell you something. I said, don't you ever talk to me like that again. You don't know what has been going on with me and my wife, and what is going on with her. You have no right to speak to me in that way. Don't you ever leap to those kind of conclusions and thinking that you can tell me or anybody else how things work when you are not a
you
doctor.
are doing such a good job of cleaning that conversation up, because
and then at the end of
the language that was used at the time.
At the end of that, I stopped, and I heard my dad say, make them think that you crazy. And then I flipped and I said, hey, you hungry? Let's go get something to eat. Went and got something to eat, drove back to the office. He jumped in his car and hauled ass back to
I
Virginia
guess so.
and told his counterpart what had happened. But at that point, counterpart already knew, and he told him, said, dude, you are way out of line for
Yeah.
speaking to him like that. And
Yeah.
that was traumatic for me because I was already frazzled. And to have somebody sit there and have the audacity to say that, tell me, and he's not even a physician, to tell me what was going on.
Right. Right. So it was traumatic all the way around.
Yes.
It was traumatic all the way around for everyone in our family. My mother, I don't think she ever got over it.
No.
The trauma of me being on death's doorknob. And literally, when I tell you I was on death's doorknob, it literally was that way.
Yeah.
I absolutely felt like I was not going to make it through the night. Every breath was a struggle. I honestly, I can't remember the number of times I pleaded to God. Pam relates.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, I'm just a number, anybody, but he was one of these insensitive
Yeah, he was.
jerks,
Mhm.
and he did not know how to handle that.
Yeah, for sure. So we arrived at the hospital. My poor daughter was already scared that mommy was going to die. So we get to the hospital, and interestingly enough, here's where the story gets a little interesting. We get to the hospital, and they have
All the heads of departments.
all the heads of the major departments were there waiting for my arrival.
Infectious diseases.
All kind. I mean, everybody.
Head of nursing, they had everyone, vascular. I mean, there was probably, I want to say, between 25 and 30 people that were going into that operating room.
Prepared, ready to open me up. And because literally I've been walking around with, at the time we thought three surgical sponges.
Not surgical.
Oh, well, let me. 3 surgical sponges in my abdomen for a month. I should be dead. Now, let me explain what a surgical sponge looks like.
It's actually a lap sponge.
Yes. So the doctor, they explained that a surgical sponge is the size of a hand towel.
Right.
This is a hand towel.
There were, we thought, 3 of these in her.
So that's why they had a complete team on deck, because they thought 3 of these jokers was left in my abdomen. What should have happened was my body would have rejected it. I should be dead. Your body will not handle.
Sepsis should have kicked in.
I should have had sepsis. All kinds of infections should be running fluently throughout all of my body.
Yeah.
I should have been dead.
Remember, this was over a month that they were in there.
Over a month that I had 3 of these jokers in my uterus, in my abdomen. And that's why my entire belly swole up to the point that it looked like I was pregnant.
Right.
It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. I don't remember kissing you before I went off.
Yeah.
I
prayed.
I remember praying.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know,
surgery was
asleep.
12, 14?
It was 14 hours.
14 hours.
14-hour surgery.
14 hours.
I woke up, and Lamar was, he was one of the last faces I saw before I fell asleep. And he was the first face I remember when I woke up. And Lamar, when I woke up, Lamar looked like a ghost. I mean, he looked terrible.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I made it. I'm alive. And I remember asking you, what's wrong?
I said that it wasn't 3 lap sponges, it was 4.
4. It was actually They found four
Now,
of these.
now the surgery prior was lengthy, and they had a little bit of a shift change, but they lost count. I don't understand how you can lose count for something that large.
Right.
I really don't. It was just totally blew my mind. And she was asking me, am I going to be okay? And I said, yes. And I knew God was present in the entirety. But when they explained to me, because I asked the question, so what are the protocols for the infections and stuff like that?
The reason why they had to have the entire hospital staff on deck was because when they opened me up and they thought they had 3, but turns out they had 4,
right,
there should have been all kinds of damage done to my heart, my lungs, my kidneys,
all her major organs.
All of my major organs should have started to fail. And when they had the staff persons on deck ready to handle
right
when what they were about to find. But let me explain to you how good God is. This is primarily the reason why I share this story, is to give glory and honor to God. Because not only did they open me up, not only did they find 4 of the surgical sponges, surgical hand towels in my abdomen, but there was no trace of infection. God had created around these hand towels a complete cocoon around the hand towels, to the extent so much so that cocoon of fluid around the hand towels basically bubbled off any infection that I would have had.
And she says bubbled off any infection. Let's say this. There was no infection. They tested the fluid that was in this vessel that was inside of her, and it was benign. It was just straight fluid. There was nothing of infection, bacteria, nothing. It was zero.
Medical miracle is what they were all.
Yeah.
All of the doctors came by afterwards.
This was a heavenly miracle because he had his hand, God had his hands all over this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got a lot of visits from all the doctors, like scratching their heads like, this is a absolute miracle. You are supposed to be dead right now.
Right.
There is no way you would have been able to survive 4 of these jokers being in your abdomen.
And I'm going to say again,
for more than a month.
Right.
4 of these being in your, and you not survive from this. This is just absolutely unheard of.
So we're talking almost 20 years ago.
Yeah. Almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So what came of that, unfortunately, what came of that on one end, because of the scarring that took place because of the hand towels being in my abdomen, that ruined me being able to ever have children again, which sucked. Because I was really hoping and we were really looking forward to us being able to have a baby and all that kind of stuff. And Lamar is the only, like he mentioned before, I think he mentioned before, that he's the only. I'm
the only
person in his
the siblings is married.
And all of his other siblings are not married, don't have any kids, don't want any kids.
Right.
And so my beautiful mother-in-law and father-in-law, they were really counting on us to bring it on home. And then when this happened, it was like, yikes.
Yeah.
Absolutely yikes.
Yeah. This is when I always talk about God going around Robin Hood's barn, because there was a plan afoot.
Yeah.
And he had a different idea in wanting to bring about us having that child. And so it was one of those things, in one of those situations where I absolutely should be dead. I would have been dead. And
had I not been a really fierce advocate and pushed the envelope advocating for my own health,
Right.
I would more than likely be dead.
Right. Because that would have, I don't know how long that would have gone. Well, the pain alone.
The pain alone would have just,
Mhm.
would have, if I didn't die from the pain, I would have slit my wrist to escape the pain. It was just that horrific and
Yeah.
horrible pain. And unfortunately, it did end up us having it scarred my uterus beyond being able to conceive
Right.
naturally. I mean, everything else was healthy and fine,
Right.
except for this situation that happened with the surgical sponges. But we wanted to share this this story with all of you because we wanted to. One of the themes of our channel is living life abundantly,
Right.
and finding abundant life. And so we wanted to share what takeaways that we took away from that time.
Yeah.
Because I can see, and definitely I was in ministry at the time, I can see where there were a lot of people whose faith was like either shook by it or strengthened by it. There were a lot of people who just absolutely could not believe that this horrific thing would have happened to, oh, this great couple. Oh no. And then there were others who took it from this vantage point of you should be dead. And indeed, that it's a miracle that
Yes,
that's
yes.
exactly the way
Quite.
that some did. So for us, we shared the story. We share the story with you now because for us, in terms of living life abundantly, one of my major takeaways is that life is too short.
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh, life is absolutely too short.
Short.
And I didn't want to ever take for granted my health. I didn't want to ever take for granted the fact that I can move my limbs and have activity of my mind and all of that kind of thing. Never take that for granted. The other thing that I realized after this whole went down was that God has a plan, even in the midst of disaster. God still has a plan, that he still has a plan for even this, even this horrible thing that has happened. He has a plan. We have another story time coming up that we're going to share on the flip side of how God used this horrible event, flipped it on the other side, and completely turned it around into something amazing and beautiful.
Yes.
But unless I would have had the gumption to trust him in that, I could definitely see why someone would wind up in a bitter place. And that's not where I was, and that's not where I am to this day. What did you learn from the whole thing?
Miracles happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
God is always present.
Yeah.
Always present. He's never not in the midst. He's always. Someone is always on a song, God has never failed us yet.
Mm-hmm.
Said that, how can God fail? He doesn't fail. So that song doesn't make sense.
Right.
Because it says he hasn't failed yet. Well, he's incapable of failing.
Right.
So there was no failure there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a purpose in everything that God does.
Absolutely.
It's a purpose. And it strengthened my faith, and I just was amazed that occurred in that way, because I was fully expecting to
be a widower,
planning a funeral.
Yeah. We actually did the night before talk about what my funeral plans were, what planning out that whole process of like, oh my gosh, you're going to have to raise Vanessa by yourself if this does not go well. you're going to be a widow.
Yeah.
And we had just gotten married
a year before.
right. It wasn't even a year
No,
yet.
yeah,
Has it? Wasn't it? Yeah, it was our
yes.
first year.
First
We'd only been
anniversary.
married a year.
Yeah.
So uh, it was one of those events that happen that make no sense. You kind of struggle. People struggle with, why good thing or why bad things happen to good people and all those kinds of things, and why me. I never had that kind of a feeling of why me or what have you, but I definitely had the feeling of I've got to hold on and lean and really cling tight to God. Okay,
yeah,
we are going through something I can't even.
Yeah,
I don't know what the heck is about to happen, and I am scared to death. I remember being in the room that we had designated as going to be the nursery.
Yeah.
The night before the surgery, and I remember being in there and writing in my journal and just crying my eyes out like I could not be here anymore. That I can actually be on my way to my death. And gosh, did I do the things that I wanted to do? And I didn't get to do this, and I didn't get to do that. And I'm not going to be able to see my daughter, grow up. And a little bit of this is so unfair. This is not what I signed up for. I just wanted to have the surgery. I just wanted to have my fibroids removed so we could have another baby. I mean,
Right.
and then here we are. Here I am. I partially was happy and relieved that, oh my God, I just want this pain and suffering to come to an end. I just want this excruciating, debilitating pain to stop. And I was glad that was actually going to happen. But I knew that on the other side of that, they were literally going to be slitting me open and pulling me apart to find out that there were 4 of these jokers inside my abdomen. And so it was scary.
Yeah.
It was definitely very scary.
For I guess husbands that go through this, it's one of the toughest things in my life that I've ever gone through.
Really? You think so?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. And prior to.
No, we've had some tough stuff.
Well, I mean, we'd only that.
But at that time, yeah, sure, you're right.
It was a year, and so yeah, losing a parent
Mm-hmm.
is hard. But I'm sitting there thinking, okay, we're just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
We're just getting started, and this happens, and I was like, wow. I hear my grandmother say, wait till you're 42 and get married. And I was 42. She said, you'll get all this stuff.
Driving the cradle, y'all.
Not so royal oats or anything like that, but have your experiences in life, and so you'll be ready then. And she was right.
Yeah,
she was right. I just wasn't expecting that there was a possibility that it was only going to be short-lived.
Yeah.
And that was difficult. So any husband out there that has actually gone through this and actually lost their spouse in a tragic way like that, yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, because that could have been me.
That was such a hopeful time for us prior too, because we had just bought a house with a little beautiful picket fence.
Well, the picket fence was the yard was actually a half acre.
Yeah,
it was.
Don't talk big. About that yard. I like that little house. I love that house.
And it had a little picket fence around the patio area, which was real cute.
Yeah, but we bought that house with the full-fledged intention of this is where we're going to have children, and this room is going to be we were going to have this room for our baby, and this was going to be our bedroom, and Vanessa had her bedroom,
right?
Had another spare bedroom because maybe we'll have another baby, all that kind of stuff. It had a beautiful yard on a historic old area of the area that we lived in that had these big historic trees and all that kind of stuff. It was a gorgeous little, you would imagine that we had it all planned out, right? All of it planned out. And then this happens. And it's like, oh.
this is where some who are new Christians have difficulty, because the question that they have is, why would God allow?
That's a good question that everybody asks.
My neighbor growing up always railed against God because he did not understand why God allowed floods, famine, kids starving, this kind of thing. And that I don't have an answer for. And I don't know if he's allowing, but if it's man intervening, he does make it available for these children not to starve, but because of man's free will, they do things that aren't the best. And so that for new Christians, this would shake their faith.
For sure.
It would shake them. It shook mine.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It shook me, and then coming out of it on the other side, as they say, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. Well, yeah, it made me stronger, but I would never want to go through that again.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. But even like I mentioned before, one of the things I took away, one of my takeaways from that was that God has a plan, even in the midst of disaster, even in the midst of tragedy, even in the midst of stuff that does not absolutely make any kind of sense.
No.
It defies understanding, but it requires a level of faith and trust that even though I don't understand why this had to happen, even though I don't understand what the purpose of this is, I'm going to trust you in that you will make this indeed come out for my good. Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. So it's one of those things that I thought, I'm just going to have to trust that something good is going to come from this. And something definitely did. It's exponentially good.
There are several things about our lives together that I would, and we've said this, when people say you just cannot make these stories up.
No.
You hear, theatrical things, television. Our daughter watches Grey's Anatomy, and they always have some kind of surgical drama. But those are made up stories. This is not a made up story. Right. And I, in some ways, I wish I could say, oh, we're just joking, guys. We're just making this up. No, it's not made up. And
absolutely lived through it.
Yeah, lived through that. So this is one of those things where in my wildest dreams, I would have never thought something like, because it took me by surprise when she called me and said that they see some surgical sponges in me.
And it didn't dawn on me. Now, mind you, when they said there are some surgical sponges. Now, I don't know what in my mind I was imagining.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about your dishwashing sponge, right, or someone
maybe
else, like
a sponge that you would like wash dishes with, or something that would maybe be no bigger than this.
Sponges that the dentist uses, the little tiny things that they put in your mouth to soak up the moisture. I was like,
a sponge that you put makeup with on, and maybe something like a wedge sponge or something like. You lost 4 of the little wedge sponges or what have you. That kind of like, that's kind of what I had in my mind as what it looked like or what it would have been.
Yeah.
I never expected this to be
and I forget
this size.
The number that they said that they used.
This is folded. It's this size, guys. It's this size. This is the size 4.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I forget the number that they said that they had used during your surgery, and they lost count. And I'm like, is it that much of a? You didn't feel around. You didn't see this large.
Or that there was so much blood. They had said
but
there was so much blood during the procedure that I was losing a lot of blood in the course of the procedure, and they had to you know, stem the tide of the blood with the sponges or what have you. But at the same time, they lost count of the surgical sponges,
Sponges.
and
Yeah. So, needless to say, it's, one of those of several.
hmm
I, you know, she doesn't, I don't relish or look for, but I want to talk about these because God is real. And I need people to know that. And so telling these stories may help somebody out there
yeah.
because we have several.
Oh,
There
listen.
are several stories. There's a part two to this.
Yeah, there's definitely a part two.
And
We'll
so,
share that. We will share that because
yes,
that's I can't share this story without also sharing that the blessing that came from it, and
right.
that's a whole separate other journey
Journey.
that God took us on in order to get us to the other side of that. But that's how I know for a fact that God has a plan, because had this horrible, horrific incident ever happened, never happened, the beauty that came from the other side would have never happened as well. And we had to go through that. I
Right.
had to go through that to get to that other side. What I sometimes were used to be sad about was the pain that my family went through in watching the whole thing, in experiencing the whole thing, and the fear that they had, even when I came on to the other side or after the surgery, and I began to heal, and I started feeling better, and it was like night and day. It honestly felt like night and day.
I would think so, because that right there, that kind of, I mean, having that in you
Mm-hmm.
and they get it out and there's no infection, there's nothing destroyed, nothing wrong. I would think after the soreness of the surgery, even the soreness of the surgery, I would think, and I know you did, you felt almost 100% better.
100%, 100% better, 100%. Absolutely. Even though you've been stitched up and you've got
Staple.
staples all running up the side of you, looking like a zipper going up the side of your body, I still felt 100% like 100% better. And not having just being able to sit with the realization that there were no organ damage, no organ damage. There was no sepsis in my body, no poisoning from my body. They had so much blood on deck because
Right.
they thought they were going to have to
Do
do
a blood
all
transfusion.
kinds of blood transfusions to keep me alive. That's just how bad it was. That
Yeah.
they had the head of cardiac surgery, they had the head of immunology, they had all these people
Right.
introducing themselves to me right before the surgery to let me know that they had this full-fledged team of doctors on staff. And this was a fairly, well, we can't say,
Yeah.
yes, we did sue.
Yeah.
But there was a team of persons that were just in awe
Right.
of the fact that I honestly should be dead.
Yeah.
I would, no, everyone else would be dead. This is one of those medical
My life would have
miracles.
taken a different direction. I wouldn't be here in Mexico, probably.
You don't think so?
Nah, I wouldn't have come to Mexico because it would have taken me in a total different direction. If I'm having to raise Vanessa and be in that house myself, we just no. Lucky didn't come until 2006.
Yeah, we need to get him to 2006.
So he hadn't even come. We wouldn't have gotten Lucky.
Oh yeah.
Lucky
I would have
not-
been dead, so you wouldn't have had to be able to get Lucky.
I mean, things would change. It's like um, the movie that M. Night Shyamalan did, Signal. Anyway, it's
Field of Dreams?
no,
No,
it's
what's
the
the? Oh, I think I know which movie you're talking about. You like
it's on
that?
the tip of my tongue. But as time changed, he went back in time.
Hmm.
It was Dennis Quaid going back and forth in time, changing different things because there's a nurse murder and all this stuff.
Oh, right. Hmm.
And so my life changed.
Hmm.
It would have changed not for the better, and wouldn't say worse, but
Yeah.
then without you, it would have been
Oh, yeah. That was difficult.
yeah,
That really was difficult to watch them in fear. And Vanessa, oh, poor baby, because what we don't mention right now is that back in 2000, I almost died previously. This was not my first go round
yeah,
in having almost died. So poor baby,
mm,
poor baby having to witness her mom yet again be in the hospital about to die. And so, you know, that
yeah.
was just kind of one of those things that you really don't think of until it's right there in your face. But that is one of the reasons why we don't take life for granted.
No.
We don't take experiences for granted. We don't take the fact that I'm able to get up and move and do and all that kind of stuff for granted.
Mm-mm.
That's one of the reasons I feel that we are here in Mexico living our best lives, because of the fact that we know life is short. So if you are waiting to do something or
Right.
waiting to go for something or putting off some sort of decision or putting things off, like, oh, I'll wait until we don't know how much time we have.
I mean, with the way things are happening in the United States, eh, you don't want to, because there's a strong possibility that things are not going to be the greatest for a while, and especially way things are going there. And you want to have a good life. You
Yeah.
want to enjoy your life. Kids, if you have small kids, bring them.
Yeah.
Take your kids with them. It'll broaden their horizons. It'll make things so much larger for them because it bursts that bubble, thinking
Yeah.
that a lot of kids, all they know is down the street to the playground and over here and going to school, and that's the existence of their life, is their home street, because that was ours on Carrington Avenue,
Hmm.
and then going to school every day, and not getting out of that bubble. I think it's not a good thing, and I
Yeah.
think that kids need to see that the world is a lot bigger than, um, you know, you know, Fir Tree Avenue,
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
and going down to the playground, there's so much out there that you can experience and make that change in your life.
One thing I never want to have, I never want to feel that feeling again of, I didn't get to
To
do.
do right.
And I definitely had that feeling the night before the surgery, to remove the surgical sponges. I felt like, dang, I never got to go here, or I never got to do this with Vanessa, and I never got to do. And there was just so many things that at that time that I would have died regretting not having done.
Hmm.
And also kind of felt like, dang, was that it? I
Right.
never got to graduate. I never got to get my
You
master's
right.
degree. I never got to see my daughter grow up. I never got to experience life with Lamar beyond a year. I never got to
This would
do.
not be
Okay, can you guys hear us? If you can hear us, say yes in the chat for us really quick,
Yeah.
because we want to make sure our
Somebody just said-
sound is on.
Can you hear us?
No sound. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yes. Okay. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. Huh.
The camera picked up.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's good. Huh. Look at the devil trying to stop this testimony. But yeah, we wanted to share this story because we want to let others know how good God is.
Yes.
How good God has been to us. And then to encourage someone else that might be along the way to be an advocate for your health.
Right.
To press the issue, even if you feel, uncomfortable with having to press the issue, press anyway.
Right.
You know your body, and don't let anyone ever tell you anything different. You know your body. Stand up for yourself and your health, and press the issue if need be.
Yeah.
Always, because for me that was an absolute. An absolute testament to me knowing something was wrong, and almost to the point that it was prophetic, because remember back in the story, I told my dad,
right,
I feel so terrible. It just I was trying to explain to him, well, what's he was asking, well, what's wrong? How do you feel? What does it feel like? And I said to him, it feels like someone took a roll of Bounty paper towels and just stuffed it in my stomach and then pulled and stretched the skin up over it and then just sewed it up. That's the way I feel.
Right.
Yeah. Talk about prophetic. I mean, yeah. Whoa, I would have never guessed that either. So be an advocate for yourself. So, but moreover than that, life is too short. Life is very short. And you don't want to waste time with the insignificant or the irrelevant. Life is too short. If you have people in your family that you need to make up with, you need to get right with, that you want a relationship with, life is too short. Just do it. Just do it. Because we don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, we sure don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely that was a rough ride. Yeah. For sure.
And we're also sharing this in hopes that you will share it with someone else. If you know someone who might be blessed by this.
Yes, please.
Please indeed share, because we were reminded the other day, a couple weeks ago in church, that we are really sitting on a ton of these absolute miracles. That I can just, I'm blessed. We're blessed in the sense that I can pull up let me tell you about this one. Right. I got one for you here. Let me tell you about this other thing.
Right.
That happened. That was an absolute complete miracle.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of those experiences in my life, and we definitely felt like we wanted to share them here on our YouTube channel, just so that others could be a blessing or receive the blessing from our blessing.
Yeah. Some people who are new to the faith, who are baby Christians.
Yeah.
Someone gave their life to Christ today.
Yeah.
And got baptized.
And,
and so people who, they need an example, they need a flare, a bat signal, somebody up there that's showing what it is, as they say, the best sermon I ever witnessed is one that was
a life well lived. Yeah, and even still, sometimes we just, especially in today's society with everything going on, sometimes you just need a reminder that God is still in control.
Yeah,
and that He can still perform miracles, and He still answers prayers. He's still in the midst. He's still working. He's still turning lemons into lemonade.
Yes.
And things of that nature. So we definitely wanted to share that with you.
Yeah.
If this has been a blessing to you, hit the thumbs up.
and share it with your friends and
If you have not joined our family,
please subscribe.
please subscribe. Subscribe to our family. Subscribe to our channel. We would love to have you aboard.
And as far as the part 2 to this,
Yeah.
I don't think we should let them wait until the 1st of January.
Okay. You want to do that soon?
Do it soon.
Okay.
So
All right.
be on the lookout for part 2 of this story and the blessing that came from.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Wait till you hear what God did with this mess.
Yes.
And how he flipped it.
Yes.
And turned it completely around. You're not going to believe it.
Right.
You are not. I mean, we lived it.
Yes.
And we still are like,
yeah.
Wow.
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 Wow. Yeah. So yeah, be on the lookout for when we post up part 2.
Yes.
Pamela Jones says part 2 in 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, I think we'd probably get it before then.
Before then.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do it for those. And thanks to Delta Lucy. Oh yeah, some of us old Christians need to hear this too. Yeah, we do. We need to be reminded. Sometimes it's a good thing.
Yeah. Sometimes you become discouraged and not sure of where things are going. And that's why I said earlier that sometimes God takes you around Robin Hood's barn.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't seem right. And when you hear old pastors say God's ways are not our ways.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, it's true. It's because he sees everything and
from beginning to end, before and everything in between. So.
Because he's in control but gave man free will.
Yeah.
He's sitting there moving pieces around and moving this over here and redirecting over here.
But he already knows how it's going to come out. So that's the beauty.
Right.
That's the beauty.
So he's redirecting everything to put you in the right direction.
And even us knowing how this story turned out,
right,
is still like, wow, you are amazing.
Yeah, because this is, as I told my wife before, this is, and the movie was very spiritual, the first Matrix, and at the end where Neo can see the code. God doesn't give you the code.
Yeah, true.
This is why, you live, you walk by faith and not by sight.
Yeah.
Because he wants you to rely on him.
Mm-hmm.
He wants you to have that faith in him and not know what's coming around the corner.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys.
Right.
Well, we're going to sign off because we always try to keep you for a short time, not a long time, and a good time.
Yeah.
And we want to encourage you to, again, join our family.
Yes.
The Lamar and Angela family, where we are focused on helping you live life
abundantly
and have life abundantly.
Yes.
And so we can't wait to share with you how God turned an abundance into this situation.
Yes, absolutely. Right? Yep.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in, Brian.
Thanks for checking us out. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving.
I still have the itis from Thursday.
I'm about to go get me some more.
Yeah, I'm about done with it. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Maybe potatoes, the sweet potatoes and the turkey. I think I got a little more room for that. Let's go on downstairs and get some more.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you guys. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.